As I sit here, in the quiet stillness of my study, gazing out at the starry expanse, I cannot help but feel a certain fascination with the concept of time. It is a thing that we all experience, yet it remains elusive, slipping through our fingers like grains of sand. It is both friend and foe. It is the measure by which we mark the passing of our days, the milestones that shape our lives. And yet, it is also the harbinger of loss, the thief that steals away those we hold most dear. We are all bound by it, like prisoners in an invisible cage. It moves inexorably forward, never pausing, never relenting. We cannot escape its grasp, no matter how hard we try. And yet, there is something undeniably alluring about time. It is a source of mystery and wonder, a thing that we can study and contemplate endlessly. It is a puzzle that we can never fully solve, a riddle that we can never fully unravel. Perhaps it is this very enigma that draws us to time. We long to understand it, to grasp its secret and unlock its mysteries. We yearn to know what lies beyond its veil, to see the hidden workings of the universe. And so we study the stars, seeking to read the messages they hold. We delve into the depths of history, hoping to glean some insight into the workings of time. We create art and literature, using our imaginations to explore the possibilities that time holds. For time is not just a measure of our lives. It is also a canvas upon which we paint the stories of our existence. In our previous episode, we explored the scientific perspective on understanding time. Today, we shift our focus to its philosophical and psychological dimensions. Time, a concept as familiar as the air we breathe, is also one of the most enigmatic ideas humanity has grappled with. When one delves into the profound question of what is time, it's like stepping into a deep well of philosophical inquiries that have been debated for millennia. For most people, time is segmented into past, present, and future. These segments help us organize our lives, events, and memories. But when we move beyond the casual understanding and dive deeper, we realize that time's relationship with change, events, and existence is incredibly intricate. Is time merely a yardstick to measure events, or does it have a deeper essence that shapes the very fabric of reality? Throughout history, thinkers have delved into this mystery, broadly categorizing their theories into three: idealism, realism, and relationism. Idealism posits that time does not exist outside human consciousness. It's a mental construct, a product of our imagination. Without beings to perceive it, time would cease to exist. In essence, idealism suggests that time is a subjective experience, devoid of objective reality. Realism presents a contrasting view. Realists argue that time exists independently of human consciousness. It's an objective reality, a framework wherein events unfold. Even if no being were there to perceive it, time would still march on unceasingly. Relationism, meanwhile, understands time as the relationship between events. Time in this view is not an entity on its own, but emerges from the interaction and sequence of events. The ancient Greeks, too, found themselves divided among these tripartite perspectives of time. It is with the echoes of their dispute that our exploration begins. Around 2,500 years ago, the philosophical landscape was dramatically reshaped by a school of thought known as the Eleatic school, originating from the Greek colony of Elea. This philosophical movement presented an unconventional perspective on reality. It proposed that the world we inhabit, with its myriad of changes and transformations, is not as it seems. Instead, true reality is static, and any change we perceive is a mere illusion. At the heart of the Eleatic school were two philosophers, Parmenides and Zeno. Together, they forwarded a vision of a universe that was unified in its essence. They contested that beneath the apparent diversity and change of the world lies an unchanging, timeless unity. For them, the concept of time was not a reflection of the actual state of the universe, but a construct of the human mind. In philosophical terms, they were idealists about time, that it is merely a kind of idea in the mind, rather than a thing that can genuinely be attributed to nature. Zeno, in his exploration of the Eleatic view, conceived a series of paradoxes. These were not mere riddles, but profound thought experiments, challenging conventional beliefs about motion and change. In the dichotomy paradox, he uses an infinite series of divisions in a journey to imply that motion is an illusion. He suggests that every journey can be infinitely divided into smaller segments. If one were to traverse these infinite segments, it would seemingly take an eternity, making the completion of any journey impossible. Another of Zeno's paradoxes, Achilles and the tortoise, employs a race between Achilles and a tortoise to illustrate the problems of motion. Even if the tortoise has just a slight head start, Achilles will never be able to overtake it. The arrow paradox delves into the nature of motion itself. An arrow, when in flight, seems to occupy only its own space at any given moment, suggesting that it's always stationary and never truly in motion. Zeno used these paradoxes to advocate for the Eleatic worldview, that the sensory experiences of motion and change are deceptive. Instead, the world's true nature is unchanging. Parmenides further solidified the Eleatic perspective. In his book called On Nature, he introduced the concept of being as the only true reality. For Parmenides, change was an illusion, as it implied the existence of non-being. He asserted that only being exists, which is inherently timeless. Time, with its associations of past and future, was seen as a deceptive human construct that veered from the true nature of existence. Plato introduced a nuanced perspective on time. He saw the eternal realm of forms as perfect and unchanging, while the material world was transient. In his work Timaeus, Plato described time as a moving image of eternity, reflecting the eternal realm of the forms. Aristotle, the renowned ancient Greek philosopher, provided a counter-narrative to the Eleatic and Platonic views. He saw time not as an independent entity, but as a measure of change. In his book called Physics, he described time as the number of change concerning the before and after. He posited that time is continuous, and intertwined with events or changes it records. Time for Aristotle exists only when there's movement or change. Without motion in the universe, time wouldn't exist. Time is a unit to count or measure events. Aristotle believed that Zeno's paradoxes were based on mixing up time with what it gauges. He introduced potential infinity to address these paradoxes, stating that time, space, and motion are infinitely divisible, but never reach infinite divisions in actuality. For instance, in the Achilles and tortoise paradox, the infinite divisions are potential, not real. Aristotle believed that such paradoxes only reaffirmed his understanding of time, which is often termed relationism with respect to time, because all talk that appears to be about time can somehow be reduced to talk about temporal relations among things and events. In Aristotle's philosophy, time doesn't stand alone, but is intrinsically linked to the events it chronicles. His perspective challenges many common perceptions of time as an absolute construct, emphasizing instead its relational nature. To Aristotle, the measurement of time is more about understanding the relationships between events than about the time itself. This approach provides a framework to resolve seemingly unsolvable paradoxes, like Zeno's. By differentiating between potential infinity and actual infinity, Aristotle offers a logical solution, suggesting that while time can be infinitely divided conceptually, it doesn't manifest as such in reality. This nuanced understanding underscores the need to approach time not just as a ticking clock, but as a reflection of change and motion in the universe. His teachings, encapsulated as relationism, emphasize the interconnectedness of events and challenge us to see time not just as moments passing, but as a web of related occurrences. The contemplations of these ancient Greek philosophers on the nature of time and reality have left an indelible mark on philosophical thought. From the Eleatic school's immutable universe to Aristotle's ever-changing world, their musings challenge us to reevaluate our understanding of the cosmos. Saint Augustine of Hippo, a prominent philosopher from the late Roman era, delved deeply into the concept of time in his seminal work, Confessions, especially in Book 11. Augustine pondered the enigmatic nature of time, suggesting it is intuitive yet difficult to define. Rejecting the notion of time as an external entity, he saw it as a mental construct, anchored in human consciousness. Augustine identified time's three components: past, present, and future, emphasizing their transient nature. He posited that the past lives in memory, the future in expectation, and the fleeting present in immediate perception. For Augustine, time was a distension of the mind, a subjective experience varying among individuals. He argued that measuring time is a human endeavor, using familiar units like hours or days, reflecting our mental perceptions rather than an absolute truth. In essence, Augustine believed time exists solely in human consciousness, not as an objective reality. Al-Farabi, known as the second teacher after Aristotle, played a pivotal role in introducing and adapting Greek philosophy to the Islamic intellectual realm. His perspective on time aligned closely with Aristotle's view, considering time as intimately connected to motion and change. However, Al-Farabi saw time as an abstract concept rather than a physical entity. He posited that time served as a measure of the celestial body's motion, allowing for the quantification and understanding of events on Earth. Ibn Sina, or Avicenna in Latin, a prominent philosopher of the Islamic Golden Age, offered a more intricate interpretation of time. Drawing from Aristotle and Neoplatonism, he viewed time as a continuous and flowing entity, intrinsically linked to the universe's movement. Ibn Sina introduced the idea that time is a creation, a concept closely tied to the existence of the universe. According to his perspective, time began with the universe's creation and will cease to exist with its dissolution. Ibn Rushd, or Averroes in Latin, a prominent Andalusian philosopher, is renowned for his commentaries on Aristotle's works. In his exploration of time, Ibn Rushd endorsed the Aristotelian notion that time serves as the measurement of motion in relation to before and after. However, he also integrated theological elements into his perspective. Ibn Rushd argued that time has both a beginning and an end. For him, time was not solely a philosophical concept, but also held profound implications for human existence, free will, and the ultimate culmination of events. Philosophers such as Al-Farabi, Ibn Sina, and Ibn Rushd engaged deeply with Greek philosophical traditions and contributed to a unique interpretation of time. They seamlessly blended ideas from Aristotle and Neoplatonism with their own philosophical insights, creating a rich discourse on the concept of time. René Descartes, a pioneering French philosopher, proposed a clear distinction between two realms, the physical, res extensa, and the mental, res cogitans. This division underpins his thoughts on time. Descartes visualized the universe as a dance of matter, all moving according to specific mathematical laws. Time in this dance is the rhythm. It dictates how things move and change. This is evident in his influential work, Principles of Philosophy, where he lays out how objects move over time. In his dualistic world, time is primarily a player on the physical stage. The mental domain, where thoughts and consciousness reside, is timeless. This perspective allowed Descartes to argue that our souls, being part of the mental realm, are eternal and untouched by the ravages of time. Additionally, Descartes brought a mathematical lens to time, seeing it not just as a passing experience, but something that can be measured and quantified. This approach set the foundation for later scientific explorations into the nature of time. Sir Isaac Newton, a trailblazing English physicist and mathematician, introduced a significant perspective on time in his influential work, including his laws of motion and gravitation theory. This is commonly termed absolute time. In his masterpiece, Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, Newton distinguishes between absolute time and relative, apparent, and common time. For him, absolute time is a consistent force, flowing throughout the universe, untouched by its events or entities. In simpler terms, time marches on, regardless of what happens in the world. In contrast, relative time, such as hours and minutes, is our human way of measuring, based on celestial activities, like Earth's rotation. These, Newton believed, are mere estimates of the true, unchanging, absolute time. Newton's thoughts on time align with his idea of absolute space, an unchanging, endless backdrop for everything. Both form the stage where motion and gravitation laws play out, leading to classical mechanics' birth. However, it's crucial to recognize that later physicists, notably Albert Einstein with his theory of relativity, challenged Newton's time perspective. Unlike Newton's unchanging time, Einstein suggested time's relativity, is affected by motion and the universe's mass energy distribution. To sum it up, Newton saw time as an unwavering force, consistent throughout the universe, complementing his idea of a fixed space. This underpinned his groundbreaking physics laws, but this view faced revisions, especially with Einstein's relativity theory. Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, a multifaceted German thinker, had a unique perspective on time that starkly contrasted with Newton's absolute time. Leibniz saw time as relational, meaning it's derived from relationships between worldly events or objects. He believed time doesn't stand alone, but emerges from the changes and events in the world, essentially making time a measure of change. Central to understanding Leibniz's time is his metaphysical system, especially his monad theory. Monads, as Leibniz described, are the basic units of reality. They're simple, indivisible, and have their inherent change principle. Time springs from the interplay, and relationships between these monads changes. Leibniz's principle of sufficient reason, asserting an explanation for every fact or event, supports his time view. Time isn't separate, but stems from events and their causal links. Additionally, Leibniz introduced the idea of possible worlds, consistent reality versions. He believed God chose the best, most harmonious world to exist. Time, as a relational element, is crucial in this harmonized order. To wrap up, Leibniz posited time as relational, deriving from the world's events and objects. His philosophical backdrop includes monads, causality reasoning, and the concept of harmonious possible worlds, presenting a viewpoint contrasting Newton's on time's nature. Immanuel Kant, a German philosopher, proposed a groundbreaking perspective on time in his work Critique of Pure Reason, tying it to the essence of human experience. For Kant, time isn't just an external phenomenon or a mere idea. Instead, he posited that time, like space, is an a priori condition, something that exists prior to and shapes our experiences. We don't learn or acquire the concept of time from the world around us. Our minds inherently use time as a framework to structure all perceptions and experiences. Central to Kant's viewpoint is the separation between the phenomenal world, what we perceive and experience, influenced by time and space, and the noumenal world, the reality as it truly is, unaffected by our perceptions. We can't directly know this noumenal realm because our understanding is always filtered through our intrinsic sense of space and time. In essence, Kant saw time as a built-in lens of the human mind, shaping our interaction with reality. This concept is foundational in his philosophy, bridging the gap between rationalist and empiricist thought. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, a notable German philosopher, presented a deeply interwoven perspective on time, anchored in his broader dialectical philosophy. For Hegel, time isn't static. It's a fluid facet of reality, tied to human consciousness's evolution and historical progress. He visualized time as part of a dialectic, a progression where contradictions emerge and then merge, leading to new synthesis. Time's essence in Hegel's philosophy is intrinsically linked to the world spirit, or absolute spirit, symbolizing collective human consciousness. This spirit advances through history dialectically, encountering and resolving contradictions, with time playing a pivotal role in this historical dance. In his Phenomenology of Spirit, Hegel elaborates on how time influences human consciousness at various developmental stages. As an example, a slave's awareness is anchored in the present, while a master's perspective leans towards the future. Time isn't just a theoretical construct, but is integral to one's lived experience and self-awareness. Moreover, Hegel's thoughts on time intertwine with his dialectical logic, which he outlines in The Science of Logic. Here he stresses the interrelation and evolution of concepts over time, with time being crucial in revealing and resolving inherent contradictions. To sum it up, Hegel saw time as a dynamic and dialectical force, shaping reality, human experience, and history. This perspective is central to his comprehensive philosophical approach, which endeavors to decode the dialectical progression of consciousness, history, and existence. The dawn of the 20th century ushered in a period of profound reflection and debate about the nature of time. Philosophers and scientists, building upon centuries of thought, sought to unravel time's mysteries against a backdrop of unparalleled scientific discovery. Among these thinkers, Albert Einstein, Bertrand Russell, J. Ellis McTaggart, and Stephen Hawking stand out for their influential contributions. Albert Einstein revolutionized our understanding of time. Prior to Einstein, time was seen as an immutable force, marching forward uniformly for everyone. But with his theory of relativity, Einstein introduced a world where time was relative. It could stretch and compress, dependent on one's state of motion. Philosophically, this meant that time wasn't a singular external river, flowing at a constant rate. Instead, it was intricately woven with space, together forming the fabric of space-time. In this framework, events happened within time and space, challenging the classical notion of a universal objective present. Bertrand Russell, with his sharp analytical prowess, dissected time's essence. For him, time was less about its flow and more about the relationship between events. The concepts of earlier than, later than, or simultaneous with, were central to his understanding. Russell delved into the nature of the present moment, questioning its objective reality versus its subjective experience. He also pondered the continuity of time, asking whether it flowed smoothly or if it was composed of distinct, individual moments. J. Ellis McTaggart approached time from a metaphysical perspective. His claim to fame in the philosophy of time is his paper, The Unreality of Time, where he boldly proclaimed time to be an illusion. McTaggart distinguished two ways of perceiving time: the A series, past, present, future, and the B series, relations of events, like earlier than or later than. He argued that for time to be considered real, it must fit the A series description. However, he found contradictions in this view, and thus concluded that time, as we understand it, might be unreal. Stephen Hawking, a physicist whose name became synonymous with black holes and cosmology, also delved deeply into the nature of time. Hawking introduced the world to the idea of imaginary time, a concept that avoids the singularities in cosmology, like the Big Bang. Philosophically, this challenges our linear understanding of time and suggests that the beginning of the universe might not have a distinct moment, as we traditionally conceive it. Hawking's work, particularly his discussions on the nature of time in black holes and the potential for time to have multiple dimensions, has had profound philosophical implications. In weaving together the contributions of these thinkers, the 20th and 21st centuries present a rich history of ideas on time. From Einstein's relative space-time to Russell's event relations, McTaggart's skepticism, and Hawking's imaginary time, our understanding of time has been continuously reshaped and refined. These luminaries, with their diverse perspectives, have deepened our philosophical inquiries, prompting us to question and marvel at the enigma of time. The philosophy of time has evolved significantly over the centuries, with contemporary theories and concepts focusing on the nature, structure, and experience of time. These theories can be broadly classified into two categories: dynamic theories and static theories of time. These categories encompass various viewpoints that attempt to decipher the intricate nature of time. Dynamic theories visualize time as an ever-flowing river. According to these theories, time is active, alive, and in constant motion. The events within this framework come into existence and then fade away. When we talk about the present moment in dynamic theories, it's considered very real, while the past and future either don't exist or possess varying degrees of reality. One of the most influential dynamic theories is the A theory of time. Here, time is imagined as flowing and ever-changing. This theory presents a reality where events can be classified as past, present, or future. And this classification isn't static. It changes as time moves forward. The philosopher J. Ellis McTaggart championed the A theory, but intriguingly, he concluded that time was an illusion due to perceived contradictions within this theory. Then we have presentism. As the name suggests, presentism narrows down existence to the now. It firmly believes that only the present moment exists. The past, it's gone. The future, it hasn't arrived yet. This view paints a vivid picture of temporal becoming, where entities come into existence and then vanish as time progresses. The thoughts of St. Augustine resonate with presentism, as he believed that the past and future were mere constructs of the mind. Another dynamic viewpoint is the growing block theory. It's a fascinating perspective that acknowledges the existence of the past and the present, but not the future. The future is like an artist's blank canvas, waiting to be painted. As time moves on, the canvas fills up, turning the future into the present and then into the past. The block of time, in essence, grows. The philosopher C.D. Broad is a notable advocate for this perspective. On the other side of the spectrum lie the static theories. These theories present time as a vast landscape spread out in front of us, where every event, whether past, present, or future, exists simultaneously. It challenges the notion of the flow of time, asserting that every moment in time is as real as the other. The B theory of time is a cornerstone of static theories. It believes that time doesn't flow or alter. Every event, whether it happened a millennium ago or is set to happen a decade from now, coexists. In this realm, events are related, based on their occurrence, whether they happened earlier, later, or at the same time. But no event holds the badge of being the present. McTaggart, while critical of the A theory, leaned towards the B theory, even if he used it to ultimately argue against the reality of time. Eternalism extends the B theory's beliefs. It's a viewpoint where every tick and tock of time, from the beginning to the end, holds equal importance. The past events, the present occurrences, and the future possibility are all real in the eyes of eternalism. When we dive into the world of physics, Albert Einstein's theory of relativity seems to echo the sentiments of eternalism. It suggests that every moment, every event within the space-time continuum is as tangible and real as any other. In the grand web of time, these theories, with their contrasting and sometimes overlapping beliefs, attempt to answer one of humanity's oldest questions. What is the nature of time? Whether you see it as a river, constantly flowing and changing, or as an expansive landscape, unchanging and ever-present, the philosophical journey through time is as intriguing as time itself. Time, an ever-present force in our lives, is not just a matter of ticking clocks and changing calendars. It's deeply intertwined with our psyche, shaping our perceptions, memories, and anticipations. But how do we, as humans, psychologically perceive time? Real-life examples and psychological literature provide illuminating insights into this intriguing aspect of human experience. Imagine waiting in a doctor's office. The room is silent, except for the occasional rustle of a magazine page. You glance at the clock, feeling as if hours have passed, but in reality, it's only been a few minutes. This elongation of time is a classic example of how our psychological state, in this case, boredom or anxiety, can warp our perception of time's passage. On the flip side, think about a day spent at an amusement park with friends. The laughter, the thrill of rides, and the joy of shared experiences make the hours fly by. By the evening, you're left wondering, where did the time go? This is a testament to the old adage, time flies when you're having fun. But what does psychological literature tell us about these perceptions? Firstly, our brain doesn't have an internal clock that ticks uniformly. Instead, our perception of time is fluid, influenced by various factors. Dopamine, a neurotransmitter, plays a crucial role. Higher levels of dopamine, often associated with positive emotions and excitement, can make time seem to pass quickly. Conversely, lower levels, which might be associated with boredom or sadness, can make time drag on. Research also suggests that our attention and memory play pivotal roles in time perception. When we're engrossed in a task, or what psychologists term in the zone, or in a state of flow, we lose track of time. Our focus on the present moment is so intense that the passage of time becomes a mere backdrop. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, a renowned psychologist, has delved deeply into this state of flow, explaining how immersive activities can distort our sense of time. Memory, too, has its part to play. Looking back, periods of our lives, filled with new experiences, like traveling to a new country or learning a new skill, seem longer in hindsight. This is because our brains have more unique memories to process, creating a feeling of extended time. In contrast, monotonous periods, where days blur into one another, seem to pass in a flash. Age also plays a role in how we perceive time. For a 5-year-old, A year is 20% of their life, which feels significant. But for a 50-year-old, a year is just 2% of their life, making it feel much shorter. This phenomenon, known as the proportional theory, was proposed by French philosopher Paul Janet. It suggests that as we age, individual years seem faster because they represent smaller proportions of our lives. In conclusion, time, in psychological terms, isn't a straightforward linear progression. It expands and contracts, shaped by our emotions, attention, memories, and age. While clocks and calendars give time its structure, our minds give it color, texture, and meaning. As we navigate through life, understanding this fluid perception of time can help us cherish moments more deeply, making the most of the time we have. So, in conclusion, time, an age-old concept that has beguiled thinkers, philosophers, and the common man alike, is not just an abstract notion that governs our routines. As explored in this video, it's a multifaceted entity with profound implications. Historically, civilizations have been keenly aware of the passage of time, evidenced by ancient mechanisms and tools. Their efforts showcase a universal human endeavor to measure, predict, and harness time for better survival and understanding of the cosmos. Philosophically, time poses intricate questions about its very nature. Is it a constant flow, or an all-encompassing static dimension? Philosophies oscillate between dynamic and static theories, presenting a myriad of viewpoints, like the A and B theories of time, presentism, growing block theory, and eternalism. These differing views, whether they paint time as a perpetually flowing river or a vast, unchanging landscape, offer insights into humanity's relentless quest to understand the very fabric of existence. However, when one dives into the human psyche, time takes on an entirely different hue. Here, it isn't just an abstract or philosophical concept, but a tangible experience that can stretch and condense based on our emotions, focus, memories, and age. The fluidity of our perception of time, governed by neurological and psychological processes, can vary dramatically from the steadfast ticking of a clock. In weaving together the threads from our narrative, one profound realization emerges. Time is not just an external entity, but an intrinsic part of our being. It's interwoven with our perceptions, beliefs, and experiences. It's both a measure of our existence and a canvas on which our lives play out. Whether approached from a historical, philosophical, or psychological perspective, time's enigmatic nature continues to intrigue and inspire, beckoning us to further explore its depths. In the end, time remains one of humanity's greatest enigmas, a puzzle we continually strive to understand. As we grapple with its intricacies, it's essential to remember that our perceptions and interpretations of time shape our experiences, making every moment precious and profound. And so, as our journey through the winding paths of time's mysteries draws to a close, we find ourselves at the end, yet not truly at an end. For in the realm of thought and wonder, journeys such as these leave trails that linger long in the heart and mind. Should you find that our time together has slipped through your fingers like fine sand, we would really appreciate it if you could please leave a sign of your passage, a gentle press of the like button, a whisper of your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing to the channel are all helpful actions that widen our reach and propel our collective journey forward. While our voyage through the complexities of time may have seemed to pass in the blink of an eye, the desire to craft similar videos, with even more grandeur, depth, and at a swifter pace, is a flame that burns brightly within us. Yet the truth, as stark as the night sky's clarity, is this: to embark on such ambitious expeditions, to elevate these narratives to new heights, and to bring them to you faster, requires more than just passion and dedication. It demands resources, time, and indeed, the support of a community that shares in our thirst for knowledge and exploration. To help us achieve these goals, we've set up a Patreon page linked in the description below, where you can join us on this journey and support us in making these videos faster and better. By supporting us on Patreon, not only do you help us bring more videos like this to life, but you also gain access to a host of exciting benefits at different tiers. These include exclusive behind-the-scenes bonus content that never make it to our videos, early access to the videos, and even custom voice messages recorded in our wizard's enchanting voice for you. Your support, whether big or small, is invaluable. It will empower us to continue to wonder, craft, and share stories about the most interesting questions of our lives. Until our paths cross again, in the grand halls of imagination, may you walk in the light of curiosity and dream of worlds yet to be explored.